Did you ever get in trouble for anything as a kid that didn't make a whole lot of sense? Not the stuff that everybody gets in trouble for, but just like if your parents had their own sort of soapbox and they took it out on you.
Yeah, verb subject agreement. My dad was very, very keen on good grammar, and you had to make sure you had good verb subject agreement and I or me in a sentence. All right, case.
So if you said like you and me or you and I,
right.
He'd correct you.
Oh yeah, and it got to the point where I started correcting my friends, thinking I was doing them a favor, and I'm really just being a jerk. And
They have a term for that now. It's called grammar Nazi.
yeah, and I had no idea. I legitimately wasn't trying to I was trying to teach, and I had no idea. I mean, that's you can make fun of someone's singing voice, but you make fun of their grammar.
They take it personally.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household that was very similar. I was not allowed to end a sentence in a preposition, and I would get more trouble for that than I would if I said a swear word or something like that. And to your dad and to my dad, you and me's,
Us's,
lemons. We don't care where that's at. You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother me, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey. Planning a conference.
Yep.
You just did this.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it was great, right? I heard it was really easy. You didn't have to do much. It was sort of a well-oiled, self-working machine. Not at all.
There's a level of stress I didn't really know I could be privy to, but yeah. No, I did. And oh boy, did it peel away as the hours progressed through that conference. By the last day, I was smiling ear to ear.
By the time it started, it was already sort of its own automaton. It was all the pieces were in place. However, in getting those pieces into place, one of the things you had to deal with was working with a hotel.
Yep.
And granted, we've got a pretty good group professionally that works with us, our technology transfer group. I feel obligated to say that's not what they do. It's just one of the things that they do. But they do it well.
They're good at it, and they definitely have experience, yeah.
But we were working with a hotel that they haven't worked with in a while. Mm-hmm. I think I remember them saying that it had been about 8 years before we'd done anything with them. Yeah. And I won't name the hotel by name because I'm not sure if we should. I'm not sure if they gave preferential treatment that's in line with what they're supposed to be giving.
Yeah.
But there was some preferential treatment. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I got an email. So after meeting the hotel group and doing a little tour of the thing and lay of the land and this room for this and kind of a walkthrough, I got a follow-up email saying, hey, we've got a clubhouse tickets at Keeneland, racetrack here in Lexington. And I guess they have a group. They have a group of folks all from the University of Kentucky, different aspects, other groups around the campus. And they throw an offer once a 3-week session of Keeneland, where you get to come to the clubhouse, you get to eat and drink for free, and then you can go out and bet on the ponies, as they say, on your own dime. But everything else is pretty much covered.
Yeah, no, I've not been to Keeneland in a while, living in Lexington. That's a shameful statement, but I enjoy it. I'm not a gambler, so it never occurs to me to schedule that or anything like that. It also, I think they've only got, a spring and a fall meet, something like that?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So 6 weeks out of the year where you can catch them. And in this part of the world, in Kentucky, your mileage may vary in terms of the weather, the temperature, the rainfall. You just don't know. So it doesn't often hit my radar to go, although this year the weather's been beautiful.
Yeah.
So you were treated to not one, but two, because planning this conference was well over a year of your time. And here's the rub, right? You're an accomplished guy. You're a program manager. You're an engineer, a professional who's, I would say, probably well compensated.
Yeah.
and yet you probably got free admission, maybe free parking.
The parking was one of the only things. Parking and bedding, the only things they didn't cover. And
Okay.
I mean, you park. You can park for free. You just have to walk a little bit.
Sure. So admission was covered, and you got the swanky seats because you got box seats. You weren't down on the edge of the track.
Different. So the clubhouse, and I had never been before these 2 times. The clubhouse, you know, a totally separate entrance, and when you go in, you know, we had a seat at this table, buffet, but we could order from the menu. You could order drinks, all
Alcohol
paid for.
and
Alcohol. Didn't care what shelf.
So you, of course, are getting the really, really nice Heaven Hill plastic bottle.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, okay. And this is all maybe part of our conversation, but yes, just set it up. I mean, prime rib, carving station, you know, plenty of food, desserts, all of it. And I even got to bring Kristen, who coincidentally works at UK as well. So it all kind of fits in his plan of, hey, let me treat these people
so that when they are in positions of influence to bring more business through the door, they're going to think about their guy who treated them.
Yeah.
And I do like the separate entrance as well, because to me that just reeks of, hey, come have this posh experience, and you don't even have to hang out with the poors.
Yeah. And here's the other rub to it, and I think this will play into what we're going to talk about. He before when he invited me, he made sure to tell me it's coat and tie thing.
Okay. So you have to dress posh to hang with the posh.
Yeah. In fact, he even sent a reminder, I guess, because one of his folks he invited
showed up in his Kool-Aid stained Tweety t-shirt.
Like, sir, perhaps you'd be more comfortable in this. So yeah, that's another kind of piece to this puzzle, I think, is you got to dress the part. Okay. So you've set this up. Can I give the punchline?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what grinds my gears, I feel the motif here. I've had in my, career, like you said, I'm, engineering and, the program manager. I've had some pretty good, I'm very pleased with my job and well compensated and all that. Over the years, I have been able to go to conferences. I've gone to free lunches. We regularly now have
like a research spotlight.
A spotlight.
We get catering provided by Qdoba.
And a quick note to disclaimer here to KTC administration. I'm not complaining here one bit. I'm not.
Oh, it's fantastic.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of the great benefits of the research spotlight.
And so for a free lunch, going to Keeneland. I've never tried to pay for a clubhouse pass, but I bet it's pricey. Oh, the point I was trying to make is you go in the clubhouse, you eat, you drink. Then there's a special outside access on the lawn where you get to watch the races in the grass.
Ooh. And
you can go walk right up to the rail, which is hard to do in Gen Pop because there's so many people and,
Yeah.
So
I've been in Gen Pop there, and I've been on a slow day where it's raining and cold, and it feels accessible, and I've been on a very nice day.
Yeah.
And you have to be rude and throw some elbows to get any kind of good vantage point.
Right. So, all this great experience, all this but the person that would benefit from that would be the person that isn't making good money and doesn't get to do these things very often. And it got me thinking, and over the years, and we've talked about it, there seems to be a relationship between success and then how much free stuff you get.
Which is an inverse to how much free stuff you might need, given the lack of material compensation you would get not having success.
And keep in mind, I fully understand. I know exactly why it's happening this way. I mean, we talked at the beginning that the guy is paying, he's investing in us with, a small amount for a day at Keeneland, so that might turn into, thousands of dollars in revenue later. So it's a good investment. I'm not a fool here. I'm not saying that these things shouldn't happen. We should put a stop to it. It's like, no, I get it. This is how the game works. But I guess part of me is trying to come up with a hack for myself to say, anytime I'm given a free lunch, I got to take at least part of it, or if I can get the full total. Hey, how much did this cost? That much? Okay. and then write a check to a charity.
Pay it forward.
Put it in.
Find somebody that's a single mom that's working 2 jobs to take care of the kids, and say, "Hey, here, I got this $100 benefit today. I want to pass it along."
Yeah, I'll take the benefit, enjoy the experience and all that. I'll go to the conference. I'll do that, but I want to just point out that I guess the irony in me getting to eat for free doesn't have the same impact as, like you're saying, a single mom getting a free lunch.
I can get along with that. About 2 weeks ago, there was a new restaurant that opened on Harrodsburg Road over where Turfland Mall used to be.
Okay.
And it's like a pizza place, bar type food. And I just happened to be driving around with my daughter, and my wife was with our boys. They had like a soccer practice or something that she had taken them to. And I said, "Hey, let's get some food. Where do you want to go?" And I got the standard answer:
McDonald's.
With her, it's I don't know. Actually, she's a better eater than I am. Yeah. So this new place, it's called The Paddock, opened up, and I saw that it was open and it hadn't been. We'd watched it under construction for a little while driving past, and I said, "Hey, let's go check it out." She was reluctant, but we did. And they said, "Oh, do you have a reservation?" I said, "No, we just saw that you were open and hoped we could come in." And they said, "Just to let you know, today's a soft open. All of our staff are being trained. We might make mistakes because everybody's new, but because of that, all the food is free."
Oh, wow.
And of course I said, "Yes, we made the right choice."
Here's my reservation right here.
2 for Ross, please. But they let us right in, and we sat for about 10 minutes before our server came, which was not a big deal. Sure. I was sitting there just talking with my daughter, and we were fine. And they were so apologetic. "Oh, we're sorry for your wait. Soft open night. We're going to get somebody, right there." But I started looking at the prices on the menu, and they said, "Okay, you can have a free appetizer." And I'm like, "Okay, $16, and you can have free entree." And I was like, "Okay." My daughter got some, some fancy pizza. I forget what it was called, tomatoes and spinach and stuff on it.
Okay,
all sorts of things I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I got the old, pepperoni and bacon carnivore special. But I'm like, okay.
Did you get a margarita pizza?
Margarita, maybe? Yeah. Something like that. It wasn't margarita, but caprese.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the word that eluded me. But yeah, $16 for the entree or $15 for the entree or whatever. So add that up. Then they say, "Oh, are you going to get the dessert?" "Oh, sure, we'll get the dessert." "You want drinks?" And they said, "Alcohol you have to pay for, soft drinks you don't have to pay for." "Yeah, we'll get some soft drink." So by the time it was all said and done, we had a ton of food. We had a ton of leftovers. All of it was free.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, the server just worked for like an hour.
Yeah.
Do I tip on 0? But if I left a tip way larger than I would have left otherwise, with the same mentality, and that mentality just being like, this person, if you're serving at a restaurant, I assume you're maybe not making program manager and engineering money. Maybe they are. Maybe they're an engineer in the daytime and they're highly social and they want to wait tables at night. I don't know, but I must assume that that they're doing not as well as others in society, and so I felt obligated to leave the bigger tip because I saw a benefit. I was going to pay for dinner that night anyway. I wasn't really looking for a free meal. Because I got one, I wanted to pay that forward a little bit.
Yeah, so. You kind of executed kind of the thought process of what I'm thinking. It's interesting. This is a public service announcement, PSA. But yeah, I just spelled it out. The PSA for today is every kid should work as a server at some point in their teens or whatever, because there are so many things I would have been completely oblivious to that I didn't know. And one of them in particular is if you go to a restaurant and you order a bunch of food and then you use a gift card and it takes off maybe $20, $30. Not all of it. Well, it could be all of it too. You should tip on the total price of the meal before the gift card. That's your tip. And I would have never known that. And so Kristen is very, very insistent, and I agree. That,
did you ever serve anywhere? Did you ever wait tables?
No, I did. I was a busboy for a little while.
You worked at the same place I worked. We both worked Fazoli's.
Yeah, but in an actual restaurant in Port Washington, Wisconsin, I worked at Holtz on Grand. It was on Grand Avenue, and I got fired there.
What did you get fired for?
Let's see. No. Take that back. I worked at McDonald's in Port Washington.
Got fired.
I got fired because I didn't show up because I wanted to go skateboarding. I didn't realize that was not a valid excuse. I worked there for 30 days. And then I got a job at Holtz on Grand. And I got a stern talking to once because I threw away some expensive, accidentally, some expensive, I don't know, thermometer or something got in the trash on my watch. I got a stern talking to, wrote me up or something like that. But I think
you weren't skateboarding, so it was fine.
I wasn't. Yeah, no. So anyway, I don't know how we got there.
Well, yeah. So I guess the question is, did you get that firsthand, or did you inherit the secondhand through Kristen's experience?
Yeah, no, I got the secondhand because I was pretty oblivious to the tipping and what it's like to be a server, the memorizing, and so yeah, there's empathy, I think, that you can get.
But yeah, getting back to the freebies in society.
Yeah.
Another example that plays out for us professionally is the notion that we're going to have lots of opportunities available to us that folks in our same organization, maybe in different tiers, won't have. So I'm thinking particularly of our free lunch that we get because we're doing a training. And so our employer is graciously providing lunch as incentive for participation, but also just because they're cool. If you happen to be the janitor in the building, do you get the option? And I have seen where our front office staff will say, "Hey, plenty of leftovers. Have people come in."
Yeah,
but is that okay? Like, if you're the janitor, do you always want cold Qdoba, or should you sometimes get that fast pass and be first in line? Should they say, "Hey, we appreciate the fact that you're cleaning up this room, and maybe we're some messy eaters because it's dark and we're watching a PowerPoint presentation and we're talking and we're distracted. So why don't you just go ahead and go through the line first? Get it while it's hot. Get your choice of the very best, and not everybody's leftovers after it's been sitting there for 2 hours."
That is a very, very good point. And I would have argued, absolutely, give people the choice of the free food after the fact, not even thinking about, they're getting kind of the, can I say sloppy seconds?
You can. And we'll use that only in the context that it means, and not the innuendic other context.
So yeah, and you're right. The opportunities aren't there. There are other factors to it too, like our janitorial staff. They don't really have like an office, so to speak. So I mean, there isn't even like a place or like a mailbox. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so that, now I do admit that we will often for Christmas, everyone kick in and give a little love to the janitors, but that's coming out of that's the group asking for money personally from folks, which I'm happy to do. Don't get me wrong, but what we're really talking about here is spending money from
the institutional level.
Yeah, and again, remember, I'm not complaining. I'm trying to pay it forward. I'm trying to create a habit. Sam Harris famously talks about charity in a way where you automate it to where you don't have to kind of convince yourself you want to give, and once you've done that, then find a way to automate it so you don't have to go through that process every month to be, oh yeah, I want to be a good person.
So in church world, you're familiar with the concept of the tithe, and the tithe is essentially it comes from the 12 tribes in the Old Testament. One of those tribes, the Levites, were the ones that worked in the temple. And because they worked in the temple, they didn't work a field. They didn't have the ability to provide for themselves. So the other 11 tribes would have to pool resources, give it to them to supplement the work that they were doing. And it was the first tenth of the crop. It was the first tenth of the meat that you harvested. It was the first tenth of whatever, 10%. The modern church has adopted that now. In the New Testament, they say, oh yeah, give at least that, right? Which, I don't know. I've always had a weird relationship with that, because my understanding is that it basically doesn't assign a specific number, but pastors sure love to say 10% or more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they happen to usually also be their church's finance person, and perhaps they're feeling a little nervous some months. That's a different soapbox for a different day. But
mega churches.
Now, well, yeah. We could go down that road.
Down that rabbit hole. Sorry.
Down that rabbit hole. But it's automated.
Yeah.
It is automated for the vast majority of people nowadays. Instead of passing around the cup like they used to. Well, they still do for the cash folks in the group. But now it's mostly just pass. Occasionally somebody will throw a little check or some cash in the bin.
That's interesting because there was I imagine a certain peer pressure with pass around the basket where others see you and can sometimes see what you put in. Now that it's automated, how many people are just not doing anything and just pretending they are?
That's probably happening. Yeah. I will say this, and this is going down a rabbit hole. No, rabbit trail now.
Rabbit trail.
But I act in a dinner theater, and part of the culture of the dinner theater is we have tip envelopes on the tables, and we let people know at the end of the performance we are compensated for this, but if you feel so inclined and you want to tip the actors, we would greatly appreciate it. And just this year, they've introduced online tipping.
Oh.
And the lady that owns our branch is based out of Colorado. She actually said, really downplay the online tipping. She said, what we found in market testing is when we make that the push, tips drop by about 50%.
Oh, wow.
Because people be like, oh, yeah, I'll tip on the app. And then they don't. Either forget or they just never intended to. But when everybody else in the table is reaching for the wallet and throwing that five spot in there, everybody else does it.
That could have gone the other way, and I wouldn't have been surprised too. It's interesting. That makes sense to me. But you can also factor in the convenience factor, and I know people spend more generally when they're
using the credit card.
Versus cash.
Impact. But the automatic thing, I think, I think that's really good because when I tithe automatically. It happens every month on the first of the month, so right after I've been paid for the previous month, and I don't feel it. But then also, my wife and I we support a missionary who doesn't have any mechanism for automatic giving, and so I have to get on PayPal and actually transact. I have to think about it, and when I'm doing that, it's easier to forget it. I feel something, even though the amount is substantially less.
Yeah.
And I think the two things are functionally the same and emotionally quite different. But then that sort of raises, in my mind, another point, and maybe this is one of the more important points. If your giving is automatic, are you at all connected to the person that you're giving to? So taking this all the way back now to that person in your building that works the lower tier job that doesn't get the benefit.
Yeah.
Isn't one of the benefits that human connection of recognizing them? Because I know, having worked service jobs, having worked retail jobs where you kind of feel like you're at the very bottom of the social ladder, sometimes that comes with a little bit of feeling like you're not a participant, feeling like instead of being one of the folks that's benefiting from the system that you're helping move forward, that you're just a cog in the machine and that you're often overlooked. And sometimes just the gesture of recognizing your humanity is as important or even more important than the free thing.
Yeah, I will say one of the cruxes, I don't know, the rock climbing term maybe. One of the challenges with this too is think about, is there shame? It's like a shame factor in this. Your point about, hey, we're gonna eat all this food here in a minute. Why don't you go through the line first? I mean, is there kind of an element of shame in here that you're kind of making them, close your ears, cover your ears, siren. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know the safest way, again, to automate this or make it a thing. Have the human connection. It could be someone personally that could use the extra help, but try to find a way to, and I'm trying to normalize this thing so that it's, even if it had a name, I'm paying it forward is obviously a thing, but I kind of would, if it had some kind of a, I don't know, marketing jingle to it, to where you're like, oh, I'm doing an Eric and Paul. You know what I mean? This is just
I don't want my name attached to anything.
I know.
Yeah. Let's stick with paid forward.
But just if it had kind of like a
brand that made people feel good about participating.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to be sensitive to that. I having grown up poor, I would not have wanted a handout, even though maybe there were times where my family needed it.
Yeah.
I didn't like feeling like I was dependent on other people. I didn't want to be singled out. And so I don't think draw the attention to, oh, yeah, well, you're a janitor, you must be poor, because maybe that's not even true.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just retired and they're bored and it's a social job and they like doing it.
Yeah.
So like treat each individual case with some degree of sensitivity, but I do think that there's room for this exchange, and perhaps maybe for the time where hey, Christmas is coming up, we're gonna do a collection. Maybe instead of presenting it and singling them out, maybe you just slide it to them, or make sure it's in a place where they're gonna find it, so they don't feel singled out. And then, for the free meal, instead of saying, you're poor, get to the front of the line. If you just say, hey, we're about to start this meeting, why don't you jump line before we get started? Yeah. It's just a simple recognition of humanity. Probably instead of making this sort of a formulaic thing where if this, then this, it's just about feel it out, and then also use that as an opportunity to get to know somebody. One of the things that drastically changed, and I don't know if this is a function of COVID or just the timing of things in our building, but our janitorial staff cycles now. We don't see the same faces. We don't see them in the same buildings, and I don't know their names.
Yeah, in fact, I don't even think they have single buildings now. So they're assigned multiple buildings.
But we used to have one guy, and everybody knows that guy was Sam.
Yep.
And people knew Sam's story, and Sam would make small talk with you. And so the collection for Sam made sense.
Yeah.
And now the collection for anonymous person that's here one day a week makes less sense.
No,
so I think contextually you have to sort of figure out what works for your office and just what are the needs.
Yeah. At one point I talked to the traffic and safety group about, trying to systematically automate this, right? And say, if you ever feel like you got something here at the job that, I don't want to say you didn't deserve, but you just...
Maybe it's a perk above and beyond the typical compensation.
Throw some money in this jar, and at the end of the year, we'll give all the money to... And at the time, we knew our janitor's name. So, I'm sure there's another avenue, and it can just be...
The Angel Tree Kid or something like that.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be one for one exact match, but I guess that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to come up with a match for myself to kind of, and it's not guilt. It's, I feel like just I'm lucky to be in this situation and I want to pay for it. I guess I don't really need to say it a different way. That's really what I'm feeling.
Yeah. So let's end with a challenge here. I haven't seen too many comments yet on the podcast, but I've been told stop saying people don't listen to it because that's clearly not the case, and that's great. Thank you guys for listening.
We got yelled at for.
But if you have had similar thoughts, if you have had similar actions that you've taken, I'd love to know what those are. I think maybe one of the things that we can do is start having a more open discussion about these things. One of the things that you pointed out to me, Eric, and it stuck with me because I thought it was a good notion. So many times we want to give anonymously, and that backfires because then it's the same thing as passing the plate, I gave online, or the digital tip through the murder mystery. If we're not showcasing a little bit of what good things people are doing, we're not normalizing it, and we're not encouraging other people to do it too. So coming up on our Christmas giving season, coming up on a time where gift exchanges are happening, let's have that conversation. Let's talk a little bit about how can we, who are benefactors of nice perks and comfortable life, make the lives of other people just a little bit better.
And brag about it.
So we can get other people to do it too.
Yeah, because it's maybe a reverse shaming, or it is a shaming, but in a good way. Shame people into this, and let us know idea. I mean, if there's a clever idea for this, or an avenue, or like you said, the Angel Tree. I know there are places to give, and I know, if you look givewell.org and things like that, there are charities that have kind of been vetted, and unlike the there was a pump system that we're putting in that was supposed to mimic merry-go-round type of thing for the kids could play with, and it was this fantastically huge failure where
because it was very hard to push.
Yeah, it was
Nobody
hard to
wanted
put.
to do it.
And
it was
then,
more work than just pumping the water with your hands. Yeah, I remember that story.
And there's so many like that they sound good
until you actually see them in practice. And I'm even saying on a more general basis, not necessarily an institution you give money to, but what are ways that where you can genuinely help people?
Yeah,
because we're in a society, and I know we're getting close to the 30-minute mark here, so I'll shut it down quick. But we're in a society now where giving is getting harder because vetting truth is getting more difficult. Every corner in Lexington has got somebody holding a cardboard sign. They've got some sort of sob story. I personally got taken advantage of at a McDonald's one time because a pregnant lady fooled me into thinking she had a need that she didn't have because she got arrested after I gave her cash. And my wife was there with me, and she believed it. I believed it. She just needed the ride home. You probably heard that one being on campus, but I was naive and fell for that one time. So what relationships do we have with people where we have knowledge of their actual needs, and how are we helping them out?
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
And do it in a careful way so we're not embarrassing or shaming, and all those. And then my last point I think I'll make, because I wanted to squeeze this one in here, is the extreme end to the spectrum that we didn't yet talk about would be celebrity.
Ooh, yeah.
These are the folks that clearly they're on the extreme end of the wealth, the income, and they're the ones that get the free shoes and the free dinners and
Bill Gates has got a McDonald's gold card where he can go to any McDonald's and eat for free.
Right.
Who's the one guy on planet Earth that doesn't need free, low income food?
Right. I get it. These are investments. People are doing it because they want the celebrity to wear the shoes, and if they wear the shoes, then a bunch of people will buy them that probably can't afford to buy them. But we don't have Bill Gates listening to this, but get this message up high to where if somebody gets a free pair of Air Jordans,
maybe they buy 5 for some kids in an inner city middle school.
That should just be automatic. That should be expected. Maybe. Well, and I'm not trying to politicize anything here, but it really is. I want this to be a better habit to have.
So. Awesome. Well, this episode's sponsored by Microsoft and Nike.
And which and no, I don't know.
No sponsors. Thanks for listening to the Soapbox. Eric, how can people find us?
Well, conveniently, we put everything on our Linktree site. You can go to Linktree, search Soapbox Lex, and you'll find all of our socials there, plus ways to reach us, ways to engage, and some of our original content, so you can see some of the other stuff that we do.